Well, hello, YouTubers. How are you doing this fine Monday morning or fine Monday afternoon? Today is Monday, July 25th. You are on the Chronicles of the Naughty Hooker. My name is Natalie Jett. I was a crocheter first, so thus the name Hooker. And I taught myself how to knit about 3 years ago, but I was not trying to rebrand or what have you, so I will remain the Naughty Hooker. If you are new to my channel, thanks for joining. If you are an not old subscriber, but a regular subscriber, thank you for coming back. I will try to get more frequent on my uploads, at least once a month. I really don't have the content to come on more than that, but I'll try to get more, more regular, because actually it's been 2 years since I started my channel. This is only my 13th episode. That's kind of sad. So I need to do better with that. But I'm here today. I am 6 days short of my 53rd birthday, so I will be celebrating my birthday on Sunday. My son is also getting married on Sunday, so that will be fun. I will be in Atlanta for that, and with my family and all the joys that brings. So it's going to be a very interesting weekend. I think I'm going to leave here. I don't know. I hadn't decided whether I want to leave Friday and be there for the bachelorette party that I don't really want to go to because I don't drink, and I don't really want to sit around and watch a whole bunch of other people drink and getting drunk and acting stupid when I could be home knitting. But of course, you try to tell people that aren't knitters that do drink, and they don't understand. So I hadn't decided yet what day I'm leaving. They want me to come up Friday, but I'm leaning more towards Saturday, so I can be there for the rehearsal dinner, and then of course the wedding on Sunday. So we'll see. That's still up in the air. But let's get in some knitting. I'm still unemployed. Oh, excuse me, still amongst the ranks of, yeah, being unemployed and 1 day short of being homeless. But anyway, it is what it is. So I have been getting quite a bit of knitting in. I knit a couple of changing staircase shawls. I don't have them here to show you, but I did do them. I will post pictures. The first one I did a project that I'll show in a minute that I used my scrap yarn for, with that I had, scrap yarn I had from different projects or what have you. And one of the projects I had that I discovered when I was going through my scrap yarn was this lovely Carolina Panthers scoreboard cowl that I started probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. Started it with this was the year that they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And so I started it. I was all excited. I backed everything out. Actually, I started it a couple of times, because the first time I didn't knit. So I started it crocheting. And then when I taught myself how to knit, I said, oh, I'll knit it, because of course the pattern itself was for a knit pattern. So I did that, and then I'm going through my scraps, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even watch the NFL anymore. So I know if I ever finish it, I will never wear it. And this is a lot of work to do, to say I'm not going to wear it. And I mean, I could have sold it to somebody, but I didn't really know. So I took the teal yarn that I had made, and I made a changing staircase shawl. And the reason I picked that pattern was I was trying to practice with doing yarn overs. So I did the changing staircase shawl in the teal blue, put it in a Facebook group, not with the intention of selling it, just to show off what I'd done, and it sold. Some lady had to have it. That color was her jam. She just had to have the shawl. Quarter her price. She paid the price. I shipped it in the mail, so that one's gone. I'll post a picture, but it's gone. So then a few years back, I had dyed a sock blank, and I was experimenting with putting different shapes on the sock blank. So I dyed it orange. It was supposed to be a deep orange or what have you, and I took a cookie cutter, heart-shaped cookie cutter, and I put brown hearts all over the sock blank. Well, when it dyed a lot lighter, but it was a pretty coral color with the brown hearts on it. Well, a friend of mine, one of the ladies that goes to my knitting group, she loves coral. Coral is her color or what have you. So, and she crochets, she doesn't knit. So, and she's always carrying on about how she doesn't have any knit socks. So I got, hey, oh, you know what? I had already planned on making her something with it anyway. So I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'll knit you a pair of socks. Yeah, I got it. I'll knit you a pair of socks. Child, them socks were never going to get knit. So I knitted her a shawl instead. She loved it. It wasn't the socks, but she loved it anyway. So I did that and gave that to her on Wednesday. So I have to post pictures of it, but I don't have that to show as well. But remember the project I was telling you about that I was using my scraps with? You know, I think every crafter, whether they knit, crochet, weave, or what have you, has a blanket or throw on the back of their couch that they knit or crocheted or will or whatever. I didn't have one, and I wanted one. So one of the ladies at work at my Flower Town Knitting Guild had brought in to show and tell a circular blanket she had made out of her scrap sock yarn, and loved it. I'm like, oh, gotta have it. That's perfect. It'll go on the back of my couch. Well, it was a circular blanket or Afghan, whatever you want to call it. And of course, you start from the inside and you go out, and of course, it gets wider as you go, or what have you. Yeah, so I pull out my DMPs, get my sock yarn, get all my scraps together. I'm ready. I'm gonna do it. You cast on 6 stitches, then you take the 6 stitches and you divide it up between 3 needles, so you're putting 2 stitches on each needle. So you get the 2 on this needle, and I got the 2 on the other needle, and I got them, and boop, one of the needles falls. So I pick it up, and I'm trying to make sure everything's straight, get the needle back on, boop, another one falls. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. And I mean, I thought about running to Michael's, buying some bamboo, and seeing if that works, but by that time I was so aggravated. So I go get back on Ravelry. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I found a pattern called the reverse pinwheel blanket, which means you started from the outside and you went in. Ha! Yeah. I can cast on 750 stitches. Don't ask me to cast on 6. So, I cast it on 750 stitches, and what it is 10 wedges. So I cast it on 75 stitches, so I counted 1 to 75, put a stitch marker. 1 to 75, put a stitch marker. So I didn't sit here and literally count from 1 to 750. That won't gonna happen. But I am in love. So this is my scrap blanket. And my original thought was, start with a color, go until it runs out, switch the color, go to the next one. Yeah, I got bored quick. So basically what I did was I did 10 rows of one color, got bored and switched. So I just went with that. So I do 10 rows, switch colors or what have you. So that's why it looks so uniform, in that, yeah, it wasn't just knit until you run out and go from there, which also means that I still have a lot of scrap yarn left over. So I'm going to make this again because it fits on my lap quite nicely, but it doesn't quite cover my toes or my feet. So I'm going to do another one because I have plenty of scrap yarn left still, unfortunately. But this time I'm doubling it. So instead of 750 stitches, I'm going to cast on 1500. And what I did, I put cords together. So I put two 30-inch cords and an 8-inch. And then I cast on, and it was enough to where I could lay it out and make sure my stitches weren't twisted and join it in the round from the get-go. If you look on the Ravelry page, some people suggested knitting a few rounds first and then joining it, because that way you could tell better that your stitches weren't done. But because my cord was wide enough, I didn't have to do that. So I joined it in the round from the get-go, and that was it. And as it got smaller, then I took out the 8-inch cord, got smaller, switched to 30-inch, one of the 30 inches for 22, and just, kept on doing that until it was done. So that I like. And plus, going from the outside in, to me, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel better than going from the inside out. Because you're going from the inside out, and it's like, the bigger it gets, the more so I'm definitely going to do the outside in from now on. I don't even think I'm going to attempt the inside out at all. No, done. Nope. So that is my reverse pinwheel blanket, and in a pinch, I can fold it in half and wear it as a shawl. So it has 2 folds. So that's that. Oh, so that's finished. Let me show you another finished object. I was commissioned by a friend on Facebook to make her a Stevie wrap. Apparently Stevie Nichols has a closet full of shawls and wraps or what have you. So Lion Brand came up with this pattern for her. I guess it's boho or whatever, I don't know. But it's a kit. It's called the Stevie wrap. It comes with 3 skeins of jeans yarn. I guess you get to pick the color. The lady sent me the kit, so I didn't, she sent everything to me. So I did the drop stitches. This is my first time doing drop stitches. I only had to frog it once before I actually took the time to read the pattern and figure out what I was doing wrong. So that was a commission piece. You got 3 skeins of yarn. I only used 2, and I used size 19 needles for the first time. And hopefully it will be the last time because I didn't enjoy it, but it got it made for a quick knit, but those things are aggravating. My main thing was I knit tight anyway, and even you would think with a size 19 that you couldn't knit tight. Yeah, you can. So I was still having to force the stitches on the needle, off the cable on the needle, because it was aggravating. But it got done. She loves it. As soon as that, but she's waiting on, that's done and in the box and ready to ship. But she also, remember, I had made a cowl. It's called the Flying Solo Cowl, and it was the one that had the dicky on it and the cowl, so it kind of covered your chest and your back, but it was a cowl. And I had made that, I think, in some yarn I had dyed or what have you. Well, she found this yarn online that she fell in love with, and she wants me to knit her up the Flying Solo Cowl in this yarn. So once I get this done, I can ship both of them to her. So that's on the agenda. Also, I am a huge sports fan. I don't necessarily watch hockey because I don't understand it, but I still followed the whole St. Louis Blues, situation or what have you, because it's been so long since they had won the Stanley Cup. So as soon as they won, I decided, got to dye up some yarn, make some hats. So I found a local craft store, art supply store. I guess it's not really, well, they do sell yarn, but very minuscule or what have you. But anyway, downtown that had Jacquard acid dyes, because I was like, you know how it is. You already start a project, you want to get dyeing or what have you, and I'm like, oh, I got to get online and find a dye, get it ordered, get it here, what have you. But they were right downtown, so that was no problem. Jumped in the car, went down there, and it was on sale. The Jacquard acid dye was on sale, so that was a plus. So I needed some royal blue, and I can't remember what color yellow this is. So I dyed up this yarn. This is what it looks like caked up. So I'm going to pair this with some navy blue and make a hat. Well, I dyed some navy blue. Can you tell that this is not navy blue? I don't know what happened, but it's the ugliest thing you ever seen in your life. And needless to say, yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't decided yet what I'm going to do with this, because if I dye it black, to try to dye it black or whatever, then I know I'm never going to use it, because I don't like knitting with black yarn. It was going to be tough enough knitting with navy blue yarn. But, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It's hideous. Yeah. So that was a fail. I don't know if I put too much dye in, didn't put enough in. I don't know what I did wrong. But now, right now, outside, in the, down here, the norm for the summer is 95, 96 with a heat index of 106 or whatever. So I'm not heating up no pots on the stove. I'm not pulling out my dyeing pots. So what I do during the summertime usually is I have a 64-ounce mason jar that I put 6 cups of water in, put some citric acid, the dye, and the yarn. And then I stick it outside and let the sun heat it up for me and heat set the dye. So I have some navy blue yarn, hopefully, sitting outside right now. So let's hope it comes out even close to the navy blue, but not out those blotches that one has in it. So we'll see. But it's been out there about an hour and a half now. So I'll go get it about 3, 4 o'clock, and 4 or 5 o'clock, and see how it looks. So that's that. Oh, did I show y'all my socks? Did we talk about my socks? I don't think we talked about my socks. If we did, I'll just have to cut this out. Remember these lovely socks that I was working on that I had made? Almost finished one. I had the heel. I was so proud of myself. But the more I thought about it and the more I looked at it, I knew that I was never going to make its mate. If I finished that one at all, it was never going to get a second one. So I was watching the Space Tricot YouTube channel, And Melissa had made an Afterthought everything sock where you made the whole thing in a tube. You put in your waist yarn for your Afterthought heel. You put in your waist yarn to split the two socks, and you come down, and eventually I'll get to the point where I can put in my yarn for the Afterthought heel on this side. So really is what I'm calling these are the Rose City roller socks meet the Afterthought everything socks. Because I don't, being down here, and I don't want socks going up my leg. It's just too hot. An ankle sock will do me just fine. So I wanted the rolled edge of the ankle sock. So I mean I'm pretty close. I take this with me so when I go to meetups and stuff where I need something that's that I don't have to pay attention to. So I don't have too much further to go before I put in the Afterthought, the yarn for the Afterthought heel. So we'll see. I have until October because this is on my Flower Town Knitting Guild bingo card to finish a pair of socks, and it has to be done by October. I took out my 9-inch circle that I was using, and I went with the Addy Flexi Flips. Now, if you do not know, with the Addy Flexi Flips, for some reason they're size bigger than our U.S. needles, because I was using a 1, I think, and for the Addy Flexi Flips you have to go down to a 0 and make sure it's the 0 that's 2.25 or whatever. For some reason these run bigger than regular needles. So I'm liking it. It took me a while to get used to how to maneuver the second one in the back, but once you get that, I can just breeze through if I just take the time to do it. So, but these hopefully will be done by September, and I'll have a pair of socks. And I will be done, and I will never make a pair of socks for you. Those of you that love making socks, and y'all post the most beautiful socks with all those designs and stuff in it, and I'm in awe. I ain't doing it. Give me a shawl any day. So that are my socks, if I ever get them done. Now my next project, the one I'm working on now, not only do I watch Espace Tricot, but I watch the Grocery Girls. And as soon as that bell goes off and I get a notification, I'm watching them. And Tracie just published her first shawl pattern, and it's the Beach Days wrap. And I had to have it. When she showed it, when she was working on it, I'm like, oh yeah. Because being a new knitter, I tend to pick patterns that I know are going to challenge me. I've done the feather and fan before. I like more of the old shawl versus the feather and fan, or shell, I don't know how to pronounce it. But I don't like that garter ridge. You know how you do on the third row, you do the you purl, so you get that ridge. I prefer straight stockinette. So I left out the ridge and just did stockinette. And this section here is supposed to be stockinette as well. I mean, supposed to be garter as well. I'm not a garter fan. I like stockinette. So I will say these were challenging, trying to figure out how to get that, to do the double yarn over. Challenging to the point where I got to that row, I put it in, it did not come out right, and because I have no lifeline, I had to frog the whole thing and start over again. But the second time was a charm because I actually went on YouTube and looked to see how to do that, which don't ask me why I didn't do that before, but yeah, it took me having to frog the whole thing before I figured, let's go and see what YouTube has. So, this is the progress that I've made so far. Hopefully it will be done soon. It's for my aunt that loves purple. And the yarn, of course, is yarn I dyed. This was, when I was going through my scraps, I found this yarn of blue that apparently was a fail. It was not the prettiest yarn in the world. So I took it and I got some magenta dye in my mason jar and I put it outside and let the mason jar do the work, and this is what I came up with, a nice variegated shades of purple. And this yarn, apparently when I booked my flight to Scotland for EYF, I decided to commemorate it by dyeing a sock blank. And I dyed the sock blank and I actually wrote the word Scotland in the sock blank. So this is that yarn. I have no idea what color I used or anything, right? So when it came to me needing a third color, I got to take this off, it's just hot. When it came to me needing a third color, I could not figure out. I'm like, okay, I thought about going lighter, but I couldn't remember what color this was. So I threw it out in a yarn group, my hand dyeing yarn group, and they said, try a gray. So again, out in my mason jar it went, and I came up with this pretty silver gray. So those are the colors that I'm using for my beach day shawl. And that's what I'm working on right now. I fluctuate between that and I'll do a couple of rows of my my sock. And I also have a test knit, a crochet test knit that I need to get done by Friday, which is a top. It's not going to take long at all, but I actually need to get it done. So that's probably what I'm going to do tomorrow, is just do straight up crochet and get that done and knock that out so I can have it done and get some pictures taken for the designer. And I won't volunteer to test knit again. I don't know why I got this wild hair at my butt that I was going to do a test knit. I don't mind knitting and knowing I'm selling something and having that deadline, but to a certain extent, because it's not etched in stone, whereas this, I was told it had to be done by this date. And I don't, yeah. I'm a procrastinator anyway, so once I get this done, I won't be volunteering to test knit for anybody else again. No, sorry, not happening. So that's it for me. That's what I have going on. Those are my whips. Those are my finished objects. Don't think I have anything else to show, but I did want to take a minute to address the elephant in the room. Of course, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. It's more on Instagram than Facebook. I guess I'm not in groups that allow that type of talk to happen, so I don't see it as much on Facebook as I do on Instagram. But I don't know. I mean, my whole take on the whole situation is I'm black. Oh, hello, I am. Have been my whole life, or what have you. What's going on in the knitting community is going on in the world. It is not limited to the knitting community. It just so happens that as a collective group, because that is what brings us together, that's where we're talking about it at, specifically. But this is worldwide, people. This is not just your little part of the world where you sit and knit or what have you. So when I see people that are shocked and appalled at what's going on, it makes me wonder, where are you living? What, that you don't know that this stuff is going on anyway, outside of your knitting community? Because I mean, this has been my reality my whole life. I'm an Air Force brat. I was born in Florida. We lived in a few parts of North Carolina. We lived in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Goldsboro, and then we moved to Illinois. We lived in this little small town outside of Chicago called Kankakee, Illinois. We were only one of two black families in the whole town. But at that age, I was 9 or 10 years old, so all I knew was I had people to play with. I mean, it didn't matter to me what color they were, as long as, we had the whole run. It was an old army base that they had, the houses. I mean, they were beautiful 3-story houses. They had the 2-car garage with the frog. Me and my sister, the room was over the garage, which I will tell you, in Illinois, that was before heated floors. Child, you got up during the wintertime and you didn't touch that floor unless you had socks on your feet. So that was, like I said, I was about 9 or 10 years old. That was back when we were still wearing the jumpsuits in gym. Ours were navy blue, and it had the snaps down it with a little elastic around the leg. And of course, I was crafty even then, so of course I embroidered my name on mine or what have you. So that was, but we were Air Force, so you dealt with everybody. My parents, and looking back on it now, I can see how sheltered we were as far as because my parents didn't talk race, and at least with us. That was during the time, that was when Roots first came out. And I don't, to this day, I don't think I've actually watched the whole Roots, because at 9 or 10 years old, I could not fathom that amount of cruelty to another human being. I don't think I saw the difference as far as the races so much as I just saw the cruelty that was going on. So, it wasn't something that my parents said, hey, sit down and watch this. This is, our history or whatever. We were given the choice, and I chose to go upstairs and read a book versus watching it. And to this day, in 52 years, I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing all the way through. And I don't really feel the need to do that now or what have you. But that's just, I was called the N-word the first time in Illinois. Some little boy said it at school. I don't think he knew what it meant. I knew I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. I'm okay, and kept it moving. And then we moved here to Charleston when I was about 11 years old. I was still in elementary school, so we were still on the Air Force Base. We were still going to school with all military. So, there was no problem, what have you, because we actually lived like 2 blocks away from the school. So we would get up, walk to school, come back home, and that was it. Then we went to high school. The first high school I went to was predominantly black. It was in a black neighborhood or what have you. Didn't fit in because that wasn't like I said, looking back now, I was sheltered. I was on the Air Force Base. A lot of the outside world, my parents didn't allow to touch us. So these kids had been lived in the inner city. Their reality and their life was totally different from mine. So I stuck out like a sore thumb. So then for 2 years we went there, and then that school closed down, and the next school I went was more integrated. Now talk about an eye-opener. Because again, even though I didn't quite fit in the predominantly black school, I fit because I was black. But then you go to a school that's been integrated, and you find out, okay, you don't talk to those people. Okay, why am I not talking to those people? You don't talk to them because they're white and they don't like you. They don't know me. So how do they know they don't like me? So I was literally told by my peers, my black peers, don't talk to them, they're white, they don't like you. And so, yeah. So those 2 years in high school and then the riot started. A riot in your cafeteria at lunchtime. And that went on for 2 or 3 days before the people had enough sense to call the police or had the police on campus or what have you. And even then, some idiot tried it again and, of course, got arrested or whatever. But that was, it took some getting used to, because while I'm black and I know, the difference, I was never taught it. So, okay, yeah, it just went over my head. So in a way, I guess I can see why people are shocked at what's going on, because I had no clue, even though, because I had been sheltered. Now my eyes are open. Now I can see that, oh, okay, there is a difference. Well, there's not really a difference, because my parents wanted the same thing that anybody else's parents wanted and stuff. But it just amazes me, because, if you think about it, Anne Frank, Martin Luther King, and Barbara Walters were all born in the same year. Barbara Walters is still here. So it really hadn't been that long ago that these things happened. That they would have been the same age as most of our parents. My grandmother at 102 is only 12 years older than they would have been if they lived. So it still happened it's not something that happened years ago to where, oh, we never had to deal with it. Yeah, most of us did, and stuff. So I don't know. It's my reality. So I struggle with how to deal with it, because, you get to the point where you're tired of talking about it. You're tired of trying to explain it to people that don't want to listen to begin with, because that means they've got to look in the mirror and admit that, maybe they weren't outwardly racist, as you're outward to people that don't want to have anything to do with you, that whatever. But you think because you have a few black friends or you get along or whatever that, oh, I can't possibly be racist. Yeah, you can to a certain extent. There's certain things that you might say or that you have no problem with, you don't see that why this is wrong or what have you, but they're hard conversations to have. And they're hard conversations, especially when the person that you're talking to does not want to hear it. You can say you're an ally and that you want to help, but you still don't want to hear it, because it's a harsh reality that these things are still happening in 2019. And if we don't talk about it, guess what? They're still going to be happening in 2029 and 2039 and so on and so forth, because we're not going to address it. We're just skirting the issue, sugarcoating it to where making ourselves feel good that, oh, I'm helping, I'm doing, my part. So I don't know. It's an ugly situation. What happened this weekend with Nathan or Sock, I don't know who that man is. I've heard his name a couple of times. I don't make socks, so I don't, If I'm interested in double knitting or learning to double knit, I've met a guy in Edinburgh, Rodeo Knits, that does that too. So if I have any questions, I'm going to him because I actually know him. I don't know this Nathan guy or whatever. I don't know, so the whole uproar and the ugliness that happened this past weekend, it's unfortunate, but I'm not surprised. It's easy to, this claim that he came up with this hashtag and it's now his hashtag and it's being abused. I ain't got time for all that. All I want to do is sit and knit. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to address the issues, that I'm not going to fight for myself, I'm not going to fight for my children and my grandchildren, but as a black person, I don't want to continually have to explain why I feel the way I feel or why I'm taking the stance that I'm taking or what have you. That gets old real quick. I want to talk about the latest pattern. I want to talk about Ho-He's bag that I want for my birthday. I want to talk about this. But the conversation keeps coming back to racism because of the acts of other people or what have you. Let them explain it. I'm tired of trying to explain why I feel the way I feel or whatever, and it gets disheartening because to me, why do you not get it without me having to explain it to you? It's simple to me, but so I don't know. It's just an ugly situation that hopefully with talk, with people actually listening, with people actually doing more than just lip service and saying, oh yeah, I support you, and then the whole rivalry thing or whatever, yeah. I don't know. All I know is it's got to get better. If we're going to continue, if we're going to make the knitting community what we want it to, the refuge it was, 6, 7, 8 months ago or what have you, we've got to get past this, and the only way we're going to get past this is talking to one another and listening to one another and reading, whatever you have to do. There's plenty of books out there that I don't know the list. I'm sure that, there's other people that have listed books or whatever that would help, but even then you've got to, I can sit and read a book. It doesn't mean I'm going to apply what I've read or what have you. I'm just reading it just to say, oh, I read such and such book. Whether it sticks with me or not is a different story. So it is what it is. That's all I can say. But I am going to, did you see my shirt? My knitting friend TJ had posted a picture on Facebook, and it was some guy that was double parked in front of this store. And they were complaining about him taking up 2 parking spaces, and all I saw, of course, was the name of the store. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the guy's a douchebag. Yeah, he parked in the wrong place, but could you tell me what they sell at a Come and Go? So TJ being TJ went in and he got me 2 shirts. He got me this one and a gray shirt. So I am proudly wearing my Come and Go shirt that I have been instructed that I cannot wear this on interviews for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. So, and my knitting pen. I'm getting ready to sit down and work on my beach day shawl, so I have my Portuguese knitting pen on. So that is what it is. This is, it's a topic that it's not going away. It's going to have to be talked about. It's going to have to be addressed. But in the meantime, I just had me a bowl of Lucky Charms, and now I'm going to sit down and knit until I get a phone call. I'm waiting on somebody to call and tell me what time my interview is tomorrow. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I will join the ranks of the unemployed. I will join the ranks of the employed again, and I can get back to planning a trip to Montreal, because I want to go to a knitting retreat in Canada next year. Since EYF is canceled, I've decided that I'm still going to use my passport, and my next destination is going to be Canada. Although I do have to go back to Paris and do a do-over, because I declare that, yeah, I've got to do that over, but that's on the back burner for now. First is a knitting retreat in Canada. So if you know of anything that's happening 6, 7, 8 months down the line, hit me up on Instagram and let me know, because I am very interested in just going and hanging out and seeing Canada. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for putting up with me. I hope I didn't ramble on too much about the whole hoopla or what have you, but I just felt that, the need to address the elephant in the room and not just skirt over to pretend it's not there, because it ain't going away, unfortunately. But you all have a nice day. Enjoy the rest of your week. I've got to start planning and getting my clothes together for this weekend. And I will see you later, sometime next month in August. Take care. Bye.